will we ever see another player like Taysom Hill?
Not like Taysom Hill. I mean, please go back on our website and read the story that I did with him and Matt Ray heading into the Matt Ray is like the sports science coordinator for the Saints, and he tests these guys and all these like scientific ways, their acceleration, their strength, their power. And he said, like, Taysom Hill has broken a couple machines. They measure 10 different categories, and they vary. Like, some are strength, how much you can, like, power squat and power lift. And some of them are speed, what your, like, flat-out 40 time is. And Taysom Hill was, like, top 10 in, like, eight of them and top 20 in the – or top 10 and 9 of them and top 20 in the other one. And he was, like, number 1 in 3 of them by, like, a large margin. No one has – his ability to like run the ball, catch the ball, pass the ball with his size and his power. Not to mention that he's 34 years old. But I am shocked that there hasn't been a little bit more copycat in the creativity, like when Justin Fields was out there this year and the Bears were giving him away, and the only team that took him was the Steelers for a 6th round pick. Like, I'm like, how do teams not want a Justin Fields package?
Right.
You know, it's 4th and 1, and you bring Justin Fields out there to line up in the Wildcat. Like, Taysom Hill is proving the Wildcat still has some uses on, like, 4th and 1 when you're like, all right, try to stop this. And, oh, by the way, if you get too cute trying to stop it and bring your safety down, then it might be a 33-yard touchdown. Like, I can't believe he hasn't kept alive the elements of the Wildcat in certain situations. And the other thing I loved about it was Saints were trying to protect a lead with 2.5 minutes to go, and it sure looked like it was just going to be Taysom from there on out. Like, Derek Carr was going to stay on the sideline, and they were probably going to run Taysom 6 times in a row. The only reason they didn't is because he scored on the second play. So I am surprised more teams don't use those elements of offensive strategy, especially since there are so many quarterbacks around the league. With running ability, Jaden Daniels coming in the league, Anthony Richardson, who's been benched and gotten his job back. Lamar Jackson, obviously, on his way to another MVP, started his career out doing that. But Taysom specifically, maybe. I mean, you know, there's X-Men all over the population. There's Marvel superheroes that pop up every once in a while. Maybe there'll be one more.
Maybe one more. I don't know. But the thing that when I, was putting it together, I was thinking, I was like, man, like, I don't know if any coaching staff is going to have the leeway to just create a player like that. And if it doesn't work at first and then you rotate him in different positions, is he going to have the leeway to just even be able to find himself and showcase his athletic ability across the board? Because these stats, these total career stats, all right, quarterback. Initially, I had it as running back and tight end, but it was like, wait, he was
also
running.
Receiver.
He was running. He was running as a quarterback in the Wildcat. He was receiving as a wide receiver. He lines up in
fullback or tailback or receiver.
In so many different places.
And you don't even have the kickoff return yardage on here, and that's a big number too. It's crazy.
Yeah, so he's really a one-of-one type specimen. Like, he's Taysom Hill. Man.
It's interesting that you say coaching staff having a leeway too, and that's a point I was going to make, so I'm glad you brought that up. He used to be seen as a product of Sean Payton. Yeah. Like, this one crazy coach had this one crazy idea, and then obviously Pete Carmichael came from that and was familiar with him when he was the offensive coordinator for the first 2 years under Dennis Allen. So when Pete Carmichael finally got fired, well, first of all, when Sean Payton left, and then when Pete Carmichael got fired, both times there was this sort of like, oh, does that mean the end of Taysom Hill? Oh, is Taysom Hill going to get traded to Denver? As if the only person who would have a vision for Taysom Hill would be Sean Payton or Pete Carmichael. Well, one of the most fascinating things of the whole offseason was Clint Kubiak and his staff come in here, and the first thing he does is calls up Taysom Hill and flies to go see him in Utah. Why did I have Idaho in mind? Where does he live? Out of Utah and Idaho, but I think it was Utah. And tells him, oh, we want you to be the engine that drives this train. Yeah. And Taysom was so excited by their plans for him that he came and he participated fully in minicamp at OTAs. We see him at fullback. We see him at tailback, both of those positions more than ever. We see him shifting out to tight end. We see him shifting out wide to wide receiver. We still see the plays where he's the Wildcat quarterback. And if he had not gotten hurt, He had the chest injury that held him out of week 3. Then he had the broken ribs that held him out for 3 games in weeks 5, 6, and 7. This was probably going to be more of the norm. Like, this new coaching staff, completely new coaching staff, saw him and couldn't wait to work with him. So it's not just a Sean Payton and a Pete Carmichael thing. These guys almost wanted to use him even more and more creatively than the old guys did.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because a week ago we saw against Atlanta, he popped off, but it got called back by that holding. And I feel like they kind of put it back in the tuck, like, okay, we know we can get it.
Yeah.
And you went throughout the game. The second half, I didn't totally agree with his lack of usage in the second half, but you got to, I guess, ramp people up when they're coming back from injury and stuff like that. But against Cleveland, I mean, they let that dog off the leash, man. They just let him, let him go. They let him go and they let him do his thing. So
and now we got a bye week, and I think we're going to see more of this to come, really. Yeah. It'd be crazy not to.
It would be insane not to see it because, I mean, the man produces points. He produces points. He produces yards. He has people off balance. Like Rizzy said, he has it to where the defense has to revert to, I think he said vanilla in terms of the way that they play because they don't know where the attack is going to come from. So, I mean, look, Taysom is special, man. Yeah. He's a special kind of. I think over the summer, what I had, Matt, 4.
You did. Credit to you. Nick had. We ranked our top 21 players on the roster. Nick had Eric McCoy at 3. He's been proven
very
right.
important.
I think you had Taysom at 3, or maybe it was 4.
Something like that.
But it's hard to argue with. I mean, my argument against it was, man, if you only use a guy 5 times a game, how can he be the 4th best player on your roster? But every time something like this happens, it just makes you scratch your head. He's averaging 7.9 yards a carry again this year. Like keep doing that until it stops working. Wait till that number gets down to 4.4 till you're like, okay. All right, we've done it too much. It's at 7.9 right now. They haven't done it enough.
And man, it's printing yards, man. AK a little bit too, but they're literally out there.
Their plan for AK has been outstanding this year too.
Yeah, they're printing yards out there.